Time Walk with Me.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Time Walk with me. I am the Time Walker, and we are taking a second look at my Zaxara the Exemplary deck. I don't think it's changed much since the last video I did on it, so this is more of a revision on the video itself than the deck. Also, this video is sponsored by a very cool book, available on Amazon Kindle.
For the crime of granting one man immortality, all the gods must die.
Emerson, McCloud and the Curse of Godhood. Available on Kindle and Kindle Unlimited. Link in the description. Zaxara the Exemplary. Zaxara is a legendary 2/3 Nightmare Hydra with Death Touch. That makes it a decent attack deterrent, but you'll probably want to tap him for 2 mana of any color instead, so the Death Touch is just kind of a cool bonus. His last ability says that whenever you cast a spell with X in the mana cost, you get a free green 0/0 Hydra that gets as many 1/1 counters on it as you paid for the spell's X cost. So naturally this deck will have a lot of X spells. Let's look at those last though, just for suspense. This deck wants to have a lot of mana available, so the X spells are as big as they can be. Many of these are mana dorks, mana rocks, and land tutor spells, but there are a few cool surprises here too. Canopy Tactician, Coveted Jewel, Cradle Clearcutter, Cultivate, Dark Ritual, Elementalist's Palette, Elvish Aberration, Expedition Map. This is great because it lets you tutor for any land, not just any basic land. Glorious Sunrise. Like Coveted Jewel, this one doubles as a draw spell when you need it. Hydra Archive, Krosan Restorer, Llanowar Dead, Maraleaf Pixie, Mindstone, Sylvan Scrying. Like with Expedition Map, this lets you tutor for non-basic lands. Upwelling. This allows you and your opponents to save mana in your mana pool like treasure tokens, so you can build it up and use it for really big spells. And Urban Evolution. I didn't really want to make a million categories for this deck, so this will comprise the cards that aren't lands, X spells, or mana cards. Broken Wings. This takes care of a pretty wide variety of threatening permanents. Bushwhack. This could have been in the mana section, but it only gets a basic land into your hand, so it's not really great for that, except maybe on your first turn or two. I put this in here for the second ability because the deck puts out a lot of big creatures, and making them fight is a good way of getting rid of creatures. Clever Conjurer. A lot of mana-producing permanents in this deck produce more than 1 mana, so this can be very helpful for untapping them. Colossal Sky Turtle. This guy is very pricey for a 6/5 flying with Ward 2, but its channel abilities are very potentially useful. Deep Freeze. This helps neutralize a creature without destroying it, so if you use it on an opponent's commander, they can't simply recast it. Frogify. This does what Deep Freeze does, but it makes the creature a lot easier to kill. Hydra's Growth. This can quickly make a creature ridiculously big. Ice Cauldron. Like Upwelling, this allows you to store mana for later use. It also gets a card out of your hand, so you can't be forced to discard it. Ichthyomorphosis. This does what Frogify does, but the creature is a 0/1 fish. Instill Energy. This is in here to put on Zaxara, but there are other creatures here it would be good on too. Kelpie Guide. Krosan Grip. One with the Stars. This can help neutralize an opponent's creature, or it could help protect Zaxara by making it an enchantment instead of a creature. It doesn't take away the creature's abilities, it just stops it from attacking, blocking, dealing damage, or receiving damage. Retribution of the Ancients. With all the +1/+1 counters that will be on creatures, this will help make them into destroyers of indestructible creatures. Shoot Down. This is a lot like Broken Wings, except it's a sorcery, it costs 1 more mana, and it exiles instead of destroys. Soul's Might. Thunderous Snapper. This helps to ensure that your hand remains full while you cast expensive spells. And Zamek Guildmage. This basically lets you repeatedly draw cards for 2 mana each. Of course, we have Forests, Islands, and Swamps, Command Tower, Contaminated Aquifer, Exotic Orchard, Haunted Mire, Mist Vault Bridge, Opulent Palace, Quandrix Campus, Tangled Islet, Urza's Mine, Power Plant, and Tower, and Witherbloom Campus. We'll start with the non-creatures. Astral Cornucopia. This takes a pretty big investment to return much mana, but every little bit helps. Attempted Murder. This will kill a creature, give you a bunch of storm crows, or some combination of both. Battle at the Bridge. This drains the life from a creature, and X can be greater than the toughness of the creature if you feel like gaining as much life as you can afford to pay for. Even the Score. I have a few draw X spells in this deck. I don't think they're very popular, but I like them. Fascination. Fractal Summoning. Howl from Beyond. Ingenious Mastery. This doesn't have to be an X spell, but it really should be cast as one. March of Wretched Sorrow. Mind Twist. This can really disrupt an opponent's plans, and it doesn't make an exception for land cards. Primal Might. Profane Command. This card gives you really good value for the mana spent on it. Plus, it gives you choices for a variety of different game situations. Spinning Wheel Kick. This is a potential board wipe if you can put enough mana into it. Stream of Life. Thassa's Intervention. Tyvar's Stand. This is a good card even if you just pay the 1 green for it, but with the X it becomes much more offensive. And Windstorm. And now the creatures. All of these have 2 things in common. They have X in their mana cost, and they enter the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters. Benevolent Hydra. This Hydra likes to share its counters. Capricopian. This goat Hydra gets stronger the more scared people are of it attacking them. Contortionist Troop. There's a good chance you'll have 3 different powers among creatures you control, so this can help pump up your Hydras even more. Genesis Hydra. This one gets you a free non-land permanent, though I wouldn't choose another Hydra or else it will enter the battlefield without any counters and probably die immediately. Get a Mana Rock or a Mana Dork. Hooded Hydra. If this Snake Hydra dies, it explodes in a shower of green 1/1 snakes. You can basically ignore its morph ability. Hungering Hydra. Your opponents will think twice before doing anything that might damage this Hydra. Ivy Elemental. This is one of the simplest creatures in this category. It's not even a Hydra, it's just a 0/0 elemental that enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters. Primordial Hydra. This is one of the best Hydras in the deck. You double the number of +1/+1 counters on it during your upkeep, and it gets trample once it's a 10/10 or bigger. Stonecoil Serpent. This snake has some nice abilities other than entering the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters, one of them being Reach to help you deal with annoying flyers. Vastwood Hydra. When this Hydra dies, it gives its +1/+1 counters to your other creatures. Wildwood Scourge. This Hydra's ability triggers when a non-Hydra in this category enters the battlefield with +1/+1 counters, as well as when counters are put on to non-Hydras that are already on the battlefield, so it can get quite big. And if you somehow have 2 Wildwood Scourges, they trigger each other indefinitely, ending the game in a draw. And Ren's Run Hydra. Here's the other creature in this deck that has Reach. I don't know why you would, but if you want to, you can use this creature's Reinforce ability to pump up a creature rather than cast it as a spell. But if you do, you don't get a free Hydra from Zaxara. So there we have it. That is Zaxara, the Exemplary. What do you think? Tell me what you think, and I'll see you next time.